For this evening's Accent on Academics, we will have a presentation from York High School, Trout in the Classroom. Tonight's presentation focuses on the Trout in the Classroom program at York High. Students from York High School have worked with the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries program for the past 3 years. York High School science teacher Amber LaMonte adopted the program as a way for her students to research and investigate fisheries conservation. This provides a meaningful connection between the health of waterways in the Shenandoah Valley with the environmental concerns of the Chesapeake Bay. To share more about this presentation and introduce the students and other presenters is Ms. Jamie Carleo, York High School Assistant Principal.
Good evening. I first want to say how proud York High School is of our science department, Ms. LaMonte, and these students. So at this time, I'm going to bring Ms. Amber LaMonte, our YHS science teacher, Emily Lopez, Mason Brown, and Ashley Coppage, who are all students in her class, and they're going to share more about this project in the classroom with you guys.
Good evening and happy Earth Day to everyone. So we have brought some of our environmental science students from York High this evening to present on a project that we've been doing for the past 3 years. These students have seen the trout as biology students and as freshmen and then as upperclassmen. So they've experienced the program through a variety of lenses. All right, so the Trout in the Classroom program offers a real-life case study. The students are able to see it from start to completion and problem solve as we go through the program. The program increases the awareness of our waterways and allows us to relate the quality of the water in the Chesapeake Bay back to those waters that flow into it. So it unites the state and makes it a little more relevant and takes it into a bigger picture of the whole Chesapeake Bay watershed. The support for the program comes from the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries and Trout Unlimited. They gave the grant to fund the program initially. Trout Unlimited continues to provide eggs for us every October that we hatch and then later on release. The process is to raise the trout from eggs through fry to fingerland and then release them into an approved watershed by DGIF. So we have to follow fisheries regulations for what we can do with the trout once we receive them. And then the students are able to observe, document the biology, and graph the data. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Mason Brown to discuss some of the things that he has experienced.
I'm Mason. This is me right here when I was a biology student last year. And we get like she said, when they come to us, they're eggs. And we have a big tank, and we have this little basket here. And we had a competition between the biology students and the AP Environmental Science students to see who could design a better contraption to keep the eggs in the basket because they were falling out of the little holes. And we keep them in that basket so we can keep a closer eye on them to make sure if they get fungus and it gets over to the other eggs, we can contain them and take them out to prevent the spread. That's the little eggs, and then when they hatch out of the egg, they stay attached to the little sac to get the nutrients until they're old enough for food. And then this year we had a set of twins right here. And then all the trout have these little black marks on them, and the size and the shape can help see how healthy they are and if they're developing right. And here's a mutation. We had a little bent fish from last year. And we clean the tank to make sure the ammonia and nitrate and all the different chemical levels stay where they need to be so the fish can be as healthy as possible. And that's the little siphon we use to help get some of the waste out of the bottom and the food that wasn't eaten that sunk to the bottom. And then we put new dechlorinated water in there to maintain those good levels. And we log it for field work, grades, and to make sure all the fish are taken care of the best they can be. And then this blue line here is the ammonia. And there's bacteria in there that help convert that to nitrites because ammonia too high is not good for them. And then when the nitrates get to a certain level, there's a bacteria we introduce that turns that to nitrates. And when those get too high, you have to either do a water change to maintain those levels or introduce plants, because the plants use the nitrate in the water to make their own food. And then this is a little video clip we have, the trout. And then Ashley's next.
Okay, so within our classroom, we got to, as students, get to take averages. So we collected data of how many fish we had, and you can do this many different ways. You can put them in nets and count them, or take a picture. So as we went through the months, the averages actually got bigger as the fish continued growing. So on the left is actually what is the predicted survival, which is around 10%, and we are actually above that, so we are above average by quite a bit, so that's really good. Our trout are thriving. So we've had a little bit of problems with the trout, but not a lot, and it's actually great for us to get to experience and try and problem solve. So on the left, we have a photo of some trout in a bucket. We had to transfer them from the tank because the chiller was out, and it's really important for the trout to stay at a certain temperature. So there's ice trying to keep the level down. And then on the right, Miss LaMonte gets to foster the fish for long breaks. That way she can maintain their health, make sure they get fed. And then this year we actually started for field work, which is incorporated into the class, and it's a grade. We get to look at video clips that's partnered with Virginia Tech, and it's all throughout the Shenandoah. They have different cameras in the water, and you get to see 5-minute video clips of the trout, and so you get to count and put in your own data, how many you counted, and it actually helps them get their results. So right here is actually one of the collection sites. So you can see the trout right here. And as the video progresses, you can see different amounts of trout, and you get to count. And then here's Emily.
Hi, my name's Emily Lopez. I'm a senior at York High School. So last year, as the fish progress, we take them to Riverfest. And this is one of the places that the Virginia Department of Inland Game and Fisheries qualifies as a good place to release them. So this was last year's 2018 and then 2017. And then this year will be the third year that York High students will attend. So Riverfest is in Waynesboro in Virginia. They have, the South River flows into the Shenandoah River, and then which turns into flow northeast into the Potomac River. And then the Potomac River obviously goes into the Chesapeake Bay. It's one of the biggest rivers. So when the fish are released here, they end up, along these rivers and into the Chesapeake Bay, things like that. So when we go to Riverfest, they partner with JMU and their graduate students, and they help us release and learn more about the trout as they are adults and grow into the water. They teach us different techniques, and and they help us with the site release. So all of our days when we go to the Riverfest are volunteer students. We go on a Saturday. We leave at 7 in the morning, and we take our fish and in our coolers, and everyone volunteers. We have different, see right here, this is our fish babies are right in here. So another class, Miss Field's marine biology students, they help with they measure different things while we're at Riverfest, as well as different grade participation. So freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, even if you're not in environmental science, it's still a good thing to learn. And then over here is just a death and nutrient cycle kind of lab, outside lab. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I had a quick question. So dechlorinated water, do you make it? Do you buy it?
We just fill up the reusable like gallon jugs with water from the tap, and we have little drops that we put in there to measure it out, to make sure
Okay.
it takes all the stuff that's not good for the fish out.
Perfect, perfect. So when you have a weekend or a long process, you said something about there was a foster fish. How does that work?
Well, the fish had to be taken home to be fostered one
Okay.
year when the chiller was broken. But for our long breaks, we typically have athletes in the building during the winter break and the spring break.
Yeah.
And so between the coaches and an athlete that I teach, someone
Great.
gets in there and
That's
cleans the
perfect.
fish and feeds the fish for us.
That's neat. Oh, very good, very good. So Riverfest is where you release them, and they're probably, what, about that big, the fish,
I think they're-
roughly?
They're probably about the size of your whole pinky.
Okay.
They're, what, like 6 centimeters long? 7? About 3 inches are healthy
Okay.
fish.
Gotcha, gotcha. Very great program, thank you. Other questions?
I just like the different levels of collaboration between students in different grade levels and different classes. And then I heard Virginia Tech and JMU
Yes.
and the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, just so many different groups coming together for this. It's great to see that collaboration.
Wonderful.
Exactly. Anybody who's going to go into the field when you graduate? No takers.
Maybe go fishing?
One last question. How long did it take you to train that fish to jump up and get that lead? Did you work on that every night? It was very interesting. Awesome. No, it was a
Well,
joke.
anytime anything goes over top of the tank, they always think it's food, because when
Ah.
your hand goes over to feed them,
They'll
they
do it?
associate that. So
jump out.
anything over top of it, they swim and jump out the top and try and bite you. Doesn't hurt, obviously. But if you like put your hand on the front of the glass, they'll follow it. They're always hungry, always trying to grow.
Entertaining, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great program,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
That's great.